The Battle for Silence: How a Monastery Saved an Empire. Part 1: The Empire in Ashes. The empire was dying. Its borders had become wounds. Its cities, scars. Once proud and radiant, the realm now groaned under the weight of endless war. The sky itself seemed dimmer, as if mourning the collapse of something ancient and sacred. Armies marched. Villages burned. Kings plotted. And in the midst of it all, silence became a luxury no one could afford. Except in one place. High in the mountains, carved into the cliffs like a secret whispered by the earth itself, stood the monastery of St. Vallier. It had no battlements. No guards. No weapons. Only stone walls, wind-worn statues, and the quiet rhythm of prayer. The monks who lived there were not warriors. They were keepers of silence. Guardians of a forgotten power. They believed that in stillness, one could hear the voice of truth. And in truth, one could find strength beyond steel. Part 2: The General Who Forgot Peace. General Lucan was a man forged by war. He had led campaigns across deserts and forests, crushed rebellions, and defended the throne from countless threats. His name was etched into history with blood. But now, even he could not stop the tide. His army was shattered. His homeland, crumbling. And his soul, hollow. He came to the monastery not as a conqueror, but as a man seeking refuge. He did not speak for 3 days. He simply sat beneath the ancient bell tower, listening to the wind. The monks did not question him. They offered food, warmth, and silence. Lucan watched them. Their movements were deliberate. Their voices, rare. They rose before dawn, tended to the sick, and sang hymns that seemed older than the mountains themselves. He began to feel something he hadn't felt in years: stillness. Part 3: The Scroll of Fire. One morning, the abbot placed a scroll in Lucan's hands. It was written in a language he did not know, but somehow understood. The words pulsed with meaning. They spoke of balance, of humility, of power that does not shout but whispers. Lucan wept. He remembered his childhood. His mother's lullabies. The scent of olive trees. The laughter of soldiers before the first battle. He remembered peace. And then came the messenger. The enemy had breached the final defenses. The capital would fall within days. The emperor had fled. The people were leaderless. Lucan stood. Not as a general, but as a man reborn. Part 4: The March of Silence. He did not gather soldiers. He gathered monks. They marched toward the capital, not with banners, but with bells. Not with swords, but with scrolls. The people watched in confusion. Some mocked. Others joined. By the time they reached the city gates, thousands walked in silence. Lucan climbed the walls and looked upon the enemy. Their camp stretched across the horizon. Fires burned. Siege engines groaned. He rang the monastery bell. Its sound echoed across the valley. Deep. Pure. Unyielding. The monks began to chant. A hymn of stillness. A song of surrender, not to the enemy, but to peace. The enemy hesitated. Then, something impossible happened. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Not all. But enough. The sound of silence was louder than war. Part 5: The Empire Reborn. The siege ended not with blood, but with breath. The capital was spared. The enemy retreated. Not because they were defeated, but because they were transformed. Lucan did not return to command. He returned to the monastery. The empire did not rise in glory. It rose in humility. Slowly. Quietly. The monastery of St. Vallier became a symbol. A sanctuary. A reminder that sometimes, the greatest battles are won not with noise, but with silence. And in the centuries that followed, when war threatened once more, the people did not call for generals. They rang the bell.